Thank you.
On your first solo exhibition at Fotografiska. And we'd love to delve into your career, your work, and the first thing that we're curious about is your constant ability to showcase beauty. Your subjects are always beautiful, colorful, bright. Where do you think your perception of beauty comes from?
Honestly, I'd have to say that my perception of beauty ultimately comes from within myself. I think a lot of the work that I create, I often say that it's really dedicated to womanhood, it's dedicated to femininity, and it's dedicated to, you know, the relationship that the woman that I'm capturing has with her inner self. And I think through my work, I'm able to tap into that and really, you know, my subjects kind of exude this confidence, you know, they exude this vibrancy and this beauty no matter what size, what shape, what color. Yeah, and I think that's just,
That's where it came from. And it shows. It shows. And in looking at your work, I know that you didn't start off as a photographer right away.
Absolutely not. It's been a long journey.
What was the shot? Was there a shot, a photo that you took that made you think, okay, this is it. I can actually do this?
Yeah, well, I've been shooting for a very long time. And by a long time, I mean like since 2009, 2010. That was around the time that I really started to take photography seriously. And I can't remember which shot exactly, you know, sparked my interest in really pursuing it. But I just know that at the time when I was in college, I used to take a lot of self-portraits. And I had a best friend at the time, her name was Lauren. And I hope she's doing well. And, you know, she was like, you're really good at this. You know, you should take pictures of people. And then she was like, I'm a stylist. And like, and mind you, I've been knowing this girl for like forever. And she was like, you know, we can work together and we can style, we can do things. And that's kind of how I started with my photography. And that was back when I was in college. And, you know, over the years, I've just worked, you know, to self-teach myself different techniques. But I think moving more into my professional career, it's quite hard to pinpoint because, you know, when I initially started off even professionally photographing, I was mostly doing still life at the time.
Okay.
So
like the things with like Urban Outfitters.
Yeah, Urban Outfitters, CB2, you know, brands like Revlon and things like that. So
so it was a combination of things.
It was a combination of things.
To that. And it leads us to now, your solo show. And shooting at Onyx.
Yes.
In a time, I think, where society is still reckoning with strip clubs.
Right. With,
you know, women and the perception of who strippers are. What did you want to communicate with this subject matter?
I wanted to specifically feature Onyx in Houston because I started initially shooting in Houston. So Houston is kind of a second hometown for me. And ultimately, it's the place that kind of inspired me to pursue my creativity and my photography. And I initially got the idea to shoot at Onyx back in 2018, I believe. I went to the club with my aunt for her 50th birthday.
Love that.
And I went with a group of women, which is interesting because I had been there before, but I've never been there with family. So it was interesting because here I am. I'm the youngest out the bunch, you know, but I'm in this group with ladies who are of all different ages. obviously, 50 up and younger. So it was an interesting experience. And I remember us walking into the club, some of the ladies of which have been, and not specifically to Onyx, but to strip clubs. And some of the women who, they're middle-aged and they've never stepped foot in a strip club. So it was interesting to see the dynamic between the comfort levels. And once we all got comfortable, we had like a little section. Once we all got comfortable, I remember just really tapping into what was going on in the environment that specific night. And I just started noticing a lot of subtleties that I once overlooked in my prior visits. And what started to stand out to me outside of just the women, outside of the cash, outside of the men, and like just the whole allure and the vibe of the club was really how the women seemed to be interacting with one another. And that was just really captivating to me because, you just typically don't think about that when you enter these type of spaces. So, I was just really intrigued by that, honestly, and also the level of confidence that these women have, the way they maneuver through the space like effortlessly. They're like alluring, enticing in a way, and they're just also mysterious because you're like, who is this person? And that's something that just was extremely interesting to me. And I remember thinking back then in 2018, I was just now like breaking into my full-time career as an artist, art director, photographer. And I made a promise to myself. I remember telling my family the next day, when I make it, I want to go back and I want to shoot those ladies. And I think it's an important story to tell. I think it's important imagery, especially captured by a woman, by a Black woman, capturing other Black women in this space. Because oftentimes, like, there are so many perceptions, so much judgment, so much ill commentary that's directed towards women, the ladies that work in this space, and what they do overall. And I just really want to change people's perceptions on that. And really give these women the platform in the space to be honored because,
it's work.
It's work, and they're worthy. And I've gotten close to some of these girls, and they're really beautiful people.
And it's interesting to me that you haven't seen P-Valley because I think, in a way, the film did an amazing job at presenting that. And even in your photography, the way that you chose to focus on details and not the sort of gratuitous sort of like back shot or nakedness.
Oh, absolutely.
Why did you choose to photograph them that way?
Yeah, I chose to photograph the entertainers at Onyx in that light because when you think of strip clubs, traditionally you think of the ass, you think of twerking, you think of all of those things. And at the end of the day, these ladies are much more than their physical attributes. They're much more than, taking their tops off for cash, and much more. It's just a bigger picture than that, So I think when I went in to capture them, I wanted to keep that in mind. And I think, obviously in these spaces, there's a lot of objectification, there's a lot of misogyny, there's just a lot of degradation, there's a lot of things that go hand in hand in this space. And I think as a woman, I just naturally see it from a different point of view. And I just treated this as I treat, the work that I do for my other clients. And if you look at some of my past work, I love to focus on hands. I love to focus on lips and small details because I feel like those are attributes of a person that often go unnoticed, but can be very intimate, So I just wanted to capture them in a sense where it was just beautiful and not too objectified, and in a light that just really truly displayed their own personalities and their aura, their beauty, their vibe.
Yeah, no, that's great. And moving on to now, looking at this show and looking at your work as art, do you intend to continue doing that, doing more exhibitions and possibly even looking at gallery representation? Is that in the cards? Is that something you've thought about?
Yeah, definitely would love to continue to do more gallery shows, and definitely would love to explore the idea of having gallery representation. This is my first ever solo show, so the process to me has been quite a learning experience. It is very new, but you know, now that I've tapped into this arena, I definitely want to continue to create new bodies of work that I can actually display. Because it's one thing to like shoot and have your work in a magazine, or you know, have it live on Instagram and get 10,000, 20,000 likes. But you know, I realized yesterday when Meredith and I walked through the space, like, it's a whole other feeling when your shit's on the wall, you know? So I definitely want to continue to do other shows in the future. And you know, I think in the future, I don't know if necessarily they'll explore the same concept as Onyx, but I definitely want to continue to put work out there that highlights women and heroes women and Black women specifically.
And that was the thing, you talked about this being your first. What was the one thing that you're coming out of this with that you're coming out of it with that you didn't come in with? Could be anything, good or bad.
I think that one thing that I'm definitely coming out of this show with overall is just more confidence within myself, which has been quite a journey for me as a woman, of course, but also as a creative. You know, prior to taking on photography full time, I worked a lot of different corporate jobs. I lived in New York for years before I actually dived into what I really wanted to do here. And that was just based upon really self-doubt, you know. And I think when the museum approached me about this, my first response was me, you know, and not to say that I didn't believe that I could do it, but, you know, there was still a level of uncertainty there that I feel like, a lot of creatives have, and we don't really touch on that too often, especially with the whole social media. Everybody thinks everything is just golden, but it's really a journey, and it's a continuous journey. So I think out of this, I've come out with more confidence as a creative, and just also more reassurance in the fact that, I can really be a change in a sense, and give more visibility and really use my talents to kind of break barriers and push the norm and essentially, put more Black women on the map.
And you did that beautifully.
Yeah.
You talked about shaving your head as a gesture of support for your mom. And I'm curious to know what other things have you taken from her that you see in yourself, style-wise, in terms
absolutely.
of inspiration?
Absolutely. So I initially shaved my head for my mom. My mom is very, very, very close to me. Anyone who knows me is always like, how's mom? Where's mom? How's she doing? She's literally my right hand, and I am so blessed to have her, and just so highly inspired by her in every way. From the beginning, my mom has always taught me the importance of accepting myself and being different, and has always, promoted the self-love, and the importance of it, that I currently have within myself. And, I've always been highly inspired by her. She's a boss. My mom had me young when she was young, and, she went to college with me, she became a doctor with me, and just, and beat all of the odds that were going against her, and, essentially instilled that in me. So I think that some of the things I've gotten from her, obviously, we move alike, we're very, you guys will meet her if you're still around. We're very, people are like, is that your sister? I'm like, that's my mom. But, I think from her, though, I've definitely, picked up her grace, her positive attitude, her willpower, her beauty, and
She into fashion as well?
no. She's not really that into fashion. Neither of my parents aren't really. They're stylish in their own rights, but I've always been like I've always just been moving to the beat of my own drum, which my parents always allowed me to do. I used to wear like crazy shit all the time. They were like, "That's what Adrienne wants to wear," so whatever.
So they created a fertile ground.
Absolutely.
For you to express yourself.
Yeah.
Which translated beautifully into you having this career.
Oh, for sure.
Building.
Yeah, they've always, accepted my creativity and allowed me to express that, whether it was like, and whatever I wanted to do at the time I did. I wanted to be a pianist. I studied music at a music conservatory. I wanted to be an artist. I went to a private school that had an art program where I learned how to oil paint and things like that. Like anything that I wanted to do creatively, my mom and my dad were like there and like, let's go, let's do it.
That's dope.
Yeah,
That's
so.
dope. The last thing I wanted to ask you, in 10 years, where is Adrienne Raquel?
Ooh. In 10 years, damn, that's a long time. In 10 years, I definitely would love to still be shooting, but I want to expand my creativity beyond my photography, and I really want to dive into directing. So if I could like name a major goal for myself, if I had 10 years to accomplish it and get there, I'd love to direct a movie.
Dope.
Why not? Whether it's like a short film or a full feature film, I'd love to be directing. Yeah, that would be a dream.
Great.
Yeah.
So we'll look forward
Yeah.
to Adrienne Raquel, the director.
Yeah. I mean, it might come sooner than that. What else? I mean, I think outside of that, 10 years. I mean, that's so
Yeah, because you're 30 now, right?
I'm 30,
So when you're
yeah.
40, right?
Yeah, 40. Ooh, yeah, 40. Definitely would love to be, career-wise, delving more into the director role. But also I'd love to be a mom and like other things like that so I can have kids and teach them how to take photos and everything. But, that's another story. But yeah, I think that's it.
Great.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, you did it.
Okay.